Hannah and welcome back to my BookTube channel, BookSceneDramaQueen. Today I'm going to be doing the 25 Bookish Facts Tag. Now, I was tagged by the lovely girls over at Bedtime Bookclub, Renee, Yvey and Amy. Hi girls, thank you so much for tagging me. Now for those of you who aren't aware of their channel, I will link down their channel below because you should absolutely check it out. They are fellow Aussie booktubers and they have a really cool setup. They're three friends and they do all of their booktube videos together. Their videos are awesome, you should definitely check them out. Now, I wasn't quite sure what to talk about with these 25 bookish facts about me. So I watched a bunch of different videos to see what other people were saying. So I kind of got a bit of inspiration from those videos about what to talk about, but I also came up with some original ones of my own. So let's get started. So fact number one, my system for buying books is as follows. So if I see a book on BookTube or in the store that I see and it looks interesting, I will look it up on Goodreads and I'll see what the rating is, and then I might read a couple of the reviews and just get a sense of what people thought of it. And then I will go to Amazon and I will look at the couple of pages that they give you, the little excerpt to read. So I will read a couple of those pages and see if I like the writing style and intrigued by the story, and that's usually when I will buy the book. If any of those elements might be a little bit off or I'm not quite sure about it, then I put the book title in a folder on my computer and it goes away in my maybe pile. Fact number two, hardback or paperback. This one gets quite a lot of different responses. For me, I like to buy hardbacks. I like hardbacks on my library. Paperbacks are easier to read, yes, but I do prefer hardbacks because they last longer and they look nicer. Fact number three, I am OCD with my books. I'm a massive... Yes, Bella, that's my cat. She wants to go outside. I am a massive perfectionist with my books. Basically, anyone who knows me knows that I keep them in perfect condition. I'm always afraid of cracking the spine. I make sure I don't crack the spine. I make sure I don't damage them in any way or drop them. Even when I go out to buy the books, I inspect all of the available copies to find the most perfect one. And my best friend started doing this now too. I think I converted her and she'll check all the books as well to find the most perfect one. So yeah, basically I can't stand damaging my books. I freak out and I get so distraught if I ruin them in any way. But with that comes the annoyance of having to take so much care of them because I would just like to casually read a book. My family members usually make fun of me because when I'm reading, if I don't want to crack the spine, I won't have the book open all the way. It'll just be kind of part way enough so that I can read the words. But I always am afraid of cracking the spine or anything like that. Fact number four. Now this one goes out to Renee over at Bedtime Bookclub because I watched their video and there was something that I really related to, which is that Renee and I like to cast some characters in the books that we read. So I know with me, what I do is when I read a book, if I'm having trouble seeing the character, I like to Google some actors or actresses that kind of fit their description and start picturing them so I have a more vivid image of them. Or sometimes I just cast for fun, like if there's a particular actor or actress that I'm really enjoying their work recently or I picture some characters as them just for fun. I think it also comes back to my acting background. I'm always reading books wondering what it would be like if it was adapted, so I like to cast actors and actresses for that reason as well. Fact number five, what genres do I like? Basically, my favorite genres I would say at the moment have been things like anything that deals heavily with the human condition and survival, so things like dystopian novels, post-apocalyptic novels, sci-fi, alien invasion, stuff like that. I'm really into those high stakes situations, but I also love many other genres too. I'll read almost anything. I love contemporary, I love historical fiction, fantasy, so yeah, it really just depends on the story. I will also say though that even though that kind of particular high stakes, post-apocalyptic, dystopian, sci-fi, those genres have been kind of a favorite of mine for a little while, I would say that I'm kind of coming off of that. I'm kind of reaching the end of that phase. I still would love to read all those books, but I think I need to mix it up a bit now. Fact number six, what books got me into reading? Now, I could go on a long list of things ever since I was a little kid, but I just thought I would talk about two specific series that really ignited my reading at another level than what I already was at. Because I did read a lot as a kid, but it wasn't until I got to my early teens that I really started reading a lot. So two series that we had at one of my old schools that me and my friends just devoured was the Teen Power Inc. series by Emily Rodda and the Georgia Nicholson Confessions by Louise Renison. Those two series I just devoured and loved for different reasons. Teen Power Inc. is like an Australian mystery series about a group of kids who have their own little business where they do odd jobs for people, and usually with each book it would be narrated by a different character out of the 6 gang. There was 3 guys and 3 girls, and usually something crazy would happen or there'd be some mystery and they'd have to figure it out, and it was just really fun, and they always had interesting stories. And the Georgia Nicholson Confessions, which started with Angus songs and full frontal snogging, they just had the most hilarious titles. Me and a friend of mine, we just blew through those books and we loved them. They were just hilarious. They were so relatable at that time in our lives, because I think we started reading them when we were around 13. So yeah, they were a lot of fun, so hilarious. I highly recommend both of those series. Fact number 7, I haven't read all of the Harry Potter books. I know, it's so bad. I did read some of them when I was a kid and growing up. I think I read the 1st, the 2nd, and the 5th, but the others I didn't get to. At that stage of my life, I wasn't a massive reader. They were around, but I didn't have access to them. We didn't own all of the copies, so I read what copies we had. It is on my to-do list, and it has been for a long time, but I want to buy my own set to read them with. So yeah, I want to get my own complete set before I start from the beginning and read them all, but I'm really excited. I will say I watched all of the movies as they came out, and I've seen all of the movies a million times. I do call myself a massive Harry Potter fan. I just gotta get to reading those books. Fact number 8, related to Harry Potter, is a bit of a shameful confession, which is that I have done the Sorting Hat and I am in Slytherin. I took the quiz twice on Pottermore. The first time was when they had the old site, and then I did it again recently with the new site to see if it would change. And no, I'm still a Slytherin. I think I'm just too ambitious for my own good. I have a lot of ambitions and I feel really strongly about them, so I think that's why I keep getting put into Slytherin. I also did the sorting for the Illuminae school, and I got Wampus. So I was pretty happy with that, although I'm not entirely sure again if I fit with that one. But yeah, so yes, I'm a Slytherin. Fact number 9, I used to never use bookmarks for my book because, again, I'm such a perfectionist. I used to worry that the bookmarks would make, that part of the page, because it would crease it and all these stupid things. But yeah, I never used to really use bookmarks, but now I do, because I'll start a book and then sometimes I'll leave it for a long time and then I forget where I was up to. So I've started using bookmarks now because it just makes it easier if I leave a book for like months at a time and not pick it up and finish it. So yeah. Fact number 10. I actually won a Penguin Teen Australia prize on the internet. So Penguin Teen here in Australia, they were doing a competition where you had to send in questions you wanted to ask the Vampire Academy cast when they were first filming the movie, where you had to ask them a question. And if you got chosen, then they would interview the cast with your question. So yeah, basically I sent my entry through and it got picked, to my surprise. It was like the coolest thing ever. I hadn't won anything kind of that big in like ever. So basically my question was for Zoey Deutch, and I think it was along the lines of, has there been anything funny or embarrassing that's happened on set? Is there a story that's funny or embarrassing that's happened on set, and could you share some? And yeah, she answered that, so that was fun to watch. And with that prize as well, I got the full Vampire Academy series. I also got the first 3 graphic novels of the first 3 novels, and I got 2 massive posters. I got a poster of Vampire Academy, and Lucy and Zoe had signed it, and I also got a poster of The Fault in Our Stars movie, because that was before it was just about to come out. So yeah, I might show you that some other time, because my books are down here, which you probably can't see. But yeah, that was a really awesome prize. I will say I wasn't happy with the movie. It wasn't very good, but it was fun to win the prize and to have my question asked to an actor. Fact number 11, speaking of movies, my system for like reading versus watching of an adaptation kind of goes like this. So if a book has been adapted into a movie and I've read that book before, I usually don't reread the book before I see the movie, because I don't want to spoil spoil my experience of the movie because I know that there'll be changes made. But if there is a book that's been adapted into a movie and I haven't read that book and I'm interested in reading it, then I will try and read it before the movie comes out. So yeah, those are the kind of swapped versions. Fact number 12, I do judge a book by its cover, and I think a lot of people say this. I just love cover art. That's just another version of artistic expression. Somebody is hired to make the cover art for that book, and they have to try and encapsulate the story or the mood or something in that book. And so I think that if there's a crappy cover on a book, then that cover artist hasn't done a good job at drawing your attention, giving you a sense of what the book is about. So yeah, I do judge a book by its cover, and that's led me to a lot of book purchases. Fact number 13, I prefer if the books that I'm reading have some hint of romance. It can be a big part of the story or it can be a small part of the story, but I do prefer if there is some romance in the novel because I'm a hopeless romantic and I just love reading about love. But that's not to say that I don't read books that don't have romance in it either. I do read those books as well. It's certainly not a must, but most of my books would have some form of romance in it. Fact number 14. Now this is kind of a bit of a story time fact. I guess the fact would be, which most people would say, because that's what reading is all about, but I get very engrossed in books, and obviously everyone else would say that, but here's the little story time to that fact. When I was about, I must have been about 14, I was reading this book. It was a Vampire Beach binder, because that was just after I'd read Twilight and I went into a massive vampire phase. And so the Vampire Beach series, it's kind of like 90210, the OC meets vampires. It was just good fun and just kind of, you know, silly story. But basically there was a party scene and I was at school during lunch and I was reading this book and the character was at a party and I was just so engrossed in the party and the description of the party and what was going on that the lunch bell rang, telling us that we had to go to our next class, and I was so upset. I said to all my friends, I was like, oh damn, I don't want to go to my next class. I've just been at a really cool party. I feel like I've just been at a party. So yeah, that's a bit of a silly fact for you, but it's one that I keep remembering because I think that's just the power of books, you know? It puts you in that situation, even if you're at a boring place like school. Fact number 15, I have never listened to an audiobook, and I don't know if I ever will, to be honest. I've listened to little snippets of audiobooks just to get a sense of what it's like, but I honestly, they just don't appeal to me. I think it's again coming to that, my love of acting and film and TV. Film and TV is a very kind of, they try their best to make it as realistic as possible, whereas an audiobook, when you're listening to it, it has to be spoken in a very correct way. And even though there will be inflections and stuff and you know, a bit of attitude or feelings coming through when they're reading it, it just feels a bit monotonous to me because it doesn't sound completely authentic when they start getting to the dialogue. So yeah, I don't like audiobooks because it just doesn't sound real. It just sounds very kind of monotonous and it kind of drones on and then I zone out and yeah. Fact number 16, I often buy my books from Book Depository because they are usually a lot cheaper than here in Australia, and I usually like the American or UK covers because sometimes when the books come to Australia the covers get changed and sometimes they're not as nice as the UK or American covers. But in saying that, I do also buy books from my local stores when I can. Fact number 17, I usually don't like when references to our real world are put into contemporary books. So if a contemporary book mentions an actor's name or a movie or something that's happened in the real world, I usually don't like that because it kind of pulls you out and it dates the book, and that can be tricky too because if you've read it a couple of years later, then it dates the book and I just feel like it doesn't make it feel present. That doesn't mean though that I don't like references to our real world in stories that are trying to be a particular time period. Obviously then you would need it, but yeah, I usually don't like if an author relies heavily on throwing in references because then it just kind of, it's a bit jarring. Fact number 18, I sometimes imagine myself as the main character. I think particularly too if it's first person, it's really easy to imagine yourself as the main character. Sometimes I imagine, it's not just me, it's usually like a weird blended version of me and some other person / face. I don't always do this though if the character is really different from me or has a different kind of description, but I think it's natural. I think a lot of people kind of tend to do that. You put yourself in that mindset. Fact number 19, I don't have a library that I currently go to. Since I finished high school and university, obviously I went to the library at those two places all the time, but since I've graduated, I haven't kind of sought out a library to go to. There's a few libraries around, but yeah, I just haven't signed up to one, which is something I need to do because it's obviously the reason why I bought so many books, because I have nowhere to borrow books. Fact number 20, first book I can remember full on crying to was Before I Die by Jenny Downham. I read the book in one day and I couldn't put it down. I was so engrossed in it, and I think I was about 13, so it was quite confronting material for a 13-year-old, but basically it was the end of the day. I'd gone home from school and continued to read it, and I just remember being in my lounge room lying on the floor, and I'd finished it and I was sobbing. I was crying so much. It really affected me. It really had a really profound effect on me after I read it. So I would really suggest you guys all read it if you haven't read it. It was adapted into a movie. The movie wasn't as good as the book, but I did enjoy the movie. But yeah, that's the first book I remember really like sobbing to. Fact number 21, I am a massive Twilight fan, as you guys probably know by now from my last video, but I haven't read the second short life of Bree Tanner. I think that's because I was a little bit bitter when it first came out because it was kind of like a surprise release. Nobody really knew about it. And Stephanie was just like, surprise, here's a little novella. And I just think I didn't read it because I was a little bit bitter that it wasn't about a character that I cared about. But I am hoping to read it someday. Fact number 22, moving on from that, I'm not a big fan of novellas, short stories, like in between little segue ebook novels or whatnot for series of books or things like that. They kind of annoy me now. I don't think I really thought about it much until I started thinking about this tag, but they just make me feel frustrated because, you know, you have a set of books that you're supposed to read as a part of the story, and then when the authors start posting all of these little bits and pieces that you're supposed to read to kind of fill in the gaps, it just kind of becomes a bit like, oh, there's just so much to read. Fact number 23, I read this amazing novel called The Wild Girl by an Australian author, Kate Forsyth, and I loved it so much. It was a historical fiction novel, and it was about this girl called Deutch and Wild who lived next to the brothers Grimm, and it was an incredible story. I absolutely fell in love with it, and I loved it so much that I was like desperately thinking of how can this be made into a movie. And I went on Twitter and I started trying to find producers that I could like tweet spam about this and be like, this book needs to be made. I actually tweeted Wick Godfrey. If you look up his IMDb, you'll see a lot of popular movies he has done. He's done the Twilight series, he's done the Maze Runner series, and just like heaps of other stuff. And I actually tweeted him about it, and he tweeted me back and he said, thanks, I'm reading it now. So who knows if he was lying or not, but that's just a fun little fact for you. Fact number 24, if I'm on public transport or anything like that and I'm sitting next to someone who's reading a book but I can't see the cover, I usually try to stealthily like look over and see what they're reading. I'll start trying to read like the passages and see if I can figure it out, or try and see if there's a title on the top of the page or the bottom of the page. So yeah, I usually try and do that stealthily because I don't want to like freak out the people next to me, and I'm too shy to ask them, what are you reading? And fact number 25, I have never met an author of a book that I have read. But I'm hoping to change this because the Brisbane Writers Festival is starting in a couple of weeks, and I'm hoping that I'm going to see Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, who wrote Illuminae, so I'm looking forward to that, and seeing many other authors as well. I just haven't been to events before, so I haven't met anyone, but I'm looking forward to changing that. And fact number 26, I'm going to add a little extra on for you guys. I really want to read more classics. I've been reading a lot of modern YA, and so I'd really love to get back to the classics and start buying more classics. I've been reading Tarzan of the Apes by Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I've just been loving it. It is so refreshing to have a different writing style. Yeah, it's been really good. So hopefully I will be picking up more classics soon. So guys, that is the end of my 25 Bookish Facts tag. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to the Bedtime Book Club girls, Renee, Yvey and Amy, for tagging me. You guys are awesome. I love your videos. And yeah, I don't know if I have anyone to tag for this tag, but I'll have a think about it, and I will put their channel or their name in the description box below. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.